Hi, I'm Cassie from Me Time, and this is a mini tutorial for the general store from the Collectible Christmas Holiday Village. All of our holiday villages are constructed about the same. If you have questions on how to put together one of the holiday houses, see our video about the church on our YouTube channel. Today we're talking about the general store. There's a couple of things that are a little bit different about the general store, and we're going to address those today. The first of which is this amazing cork on here. We're going to talk about how to put it on and how to stitch with it. The second is the leather, and this is actually stitched on top of the cork. Isn't that cool? We also have that cork on the back. The second thing that's different about the general store is that we have some buttons to replace the stitching in case you want. Aren't they cute? They come in the doorstep subscription only. So let's take a look at these buttons. On the stitching version, you have this really cute open sign, but if you get the doorstep subscription, you can get a fresh produce button that can go right there in place of that. Isn't that cute? And then on the front, we have these amazing trees that are so adorable stitched. However, it's fun to add a little bit of dimension to your house. So we have these really cute tree buttons that can also be placed on top in place of the stitching. One of the other amazing things that comes in the doorstep subscription for the general store is this super cute doormat. It says, "Come on in, general store." And it's just something that can be placed in front of your store doors. So for the general store, if you're going to use the optional buttons, the steps say on there to skip the stitching. So that way you don't have it behind your buttons if you would like. And that's where I'm going to get started on our embroidery machine. If you're going to use those optional buttons, we're just going to skip those tree steps just like I've done here, and we're going to stitch the beautiful pillars and the lights, and then we're going to get to our step where we stitch the cork. Machine step 10 is stitching the gable. The gable is made with that cork leather, so we'll stitch that right now. So what we've done is stitched that placement line. Now we're going to place our cork. Let's talk about that for just a second. It is really similar to the embroidery leather. I'm going to grab our leather as well. They both have about the same thickness and the same foldability, and they're just kind of loose and easy to work with. We're going to put that over here for later, and we're going to right now place our cork, completely covering that placement line, and tape it in place. And once we've taped it in place, we're going to return it to the machine for the tack down line. Now, one thing to note, before we stitch the cork or the leather, we are going to change our needle to a 70-10 needle, which is more appropriate for stitching on embroidery leather. Also, other than just changing your needle, you can come to your settings and slow down your machine just a little bit before you stitch on your leather. So once you've stitched that placement line, you can remove the tape, and then we're going to trim the cork just like you do with leather, close to the stitch line, but not cutting any of the stitches as you desire. And then we're going to hold that cork up in a vertical direction, and then we're going to take our scissors and just trim along the edge. And you can trim super close or a little bit far away depending on the look you would like for your general store. Then we'll just rotate and work our way around. Once we have this all trimmed, we're going to return it to the machine and stitch our decorative lines. This is machine step 12. So now that we've stitched that beautiful decorative line, we're going to stitch the placement line for the leather. Now this might seem a little scary because you have shape form and fabric and cork and then leather, but it's going to be fine. So we're going to go and stitch that placement line right now. Now that we have stitched the placement line for the leather, we're going to place it completely covering that placement line and then tape it in place. Right, and because we're going to be stitching through several layers here and on top of this leather, we're going to put our wash away topping on top. Wash-away topping is really helpful to keep all of your stitches up above the leather and not have them sink down inside. So we're going to tape that in place as well. I'm going to use 2 layers because I like how that works best. And then after that, we'll put it back in the machine. Just going to smooth it. And we're going to tape it really good. Now that we've got the leather and the wash-away topping taped in place, we're going to return it to the machine for machine step 14, which is stitching the tack down line. Once we have that tack down line placed, we can remove that tape if we'd like. I'm going to remove it so you can see the stitch out a little bit better, or you can keep it in place however you prefer. Once all of the details have been stitched, we're going to remove that wash-away topping. Just pull it off as best you can right now, and then we'll wash it away later. Machine step 15 is stitching the store sign details, and that's in red. So I'm going to quick change my thread and then we'll stitch it. For your general store, you're going to make sure that you stitch out the doors and the window and all of those things, but today we're just talking about the cork, the leather, and the buttons. So now that we've covered the first 2, let's talk about these amazing buttons. So normally right here, if you're going to use the stitching, you would have a tree right here. But since we don't, we can put our buttons here. We do have buttonholes so that you can stitch it with thread if you would like, or you could also just use some hot glue. Now we do recommend that you use a low temperature hot glue and that you use it with caution. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take our button, and I'm going to add just a little bit of hot glue to the back and put it in place, and then just press it and hold it until it dries. We'll just do the other one. A little bit of glue. Now this one, we're going to make sure we don't keep it anywhere over here where the seam is going to be. So make sure you center it. And you can double check that by just pressing down and seeing where the edge of that shape form is. Just don't glue it over there. Thank you so much for joining me today with this little mini tutorial about the general store. I hope that you feel more confident using that cork, the leather, and the optional buttons. Make sure to like and subscribe and follow us for more content. Now go enjoy some well-deserved me time.